And there's a rookie mistake there. I just realized that I'd muted my microphone during setup, so I'm going to start over again. Darn. That's why I started doing these about 2 months ago on this new software so that I can get used to it. Iron out the wrinkles, so to speak. I'm going to start over. Mark your calendars for this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. That's Thursday, June 12th at 6:30 p.m. Laura Shar from Gold Standard Elections is going to be our guest on UnWoke.Academy. It's going to be live on multiple different platforms. Bring your questions. We are going to talk about all things elections. And yes, we'll, I'm sure, get into the belly of the beast, the heart of the matter, those voting machines and what they're all about. I don't want to give too much away because I am not an expert in this stuff, but folks like Laura have made it their business to become experts. But some of the things that I've heard about and read about and learned through Gold Standard Elections, and that's a national network of people who are really just the doing the will of the people to bring clarity and just end the cycles of madness of one side or the other claiming that it's rigged and etc. So Laura Shar, Gold Standard Elections, this Thursday, June 12th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope you can come back and join us. I will record that and we'll put it up afterward. But if you want to get your questions answered and watch it real time, live, and join the conversation, that's 6:30 this Thursday, June 12th. This is, of course, Jonathan Broadbent from UnWoke.Academy. This is the place where freedom economy meets follow the money. And our mission, the core objective here is to defund the woke, or as we like to say, an expression coined by my wife, who was paying close attention to all the things that I've been doing and fighting for at UnWoke.Academy. She came up with the expression, "Dis the globalist left." That stands for know where you donate, invest, and spend your money. Because if we give it all to the hands of the leftists through things like USAID and overtaxation and those horrible NGOs that we're discovering now have been really working within the country against American interests, all that stuff is part of the equation. How we fund and what we fund plays an important role as well. So the underpinnings of UnWoke.Academy are leveraging my knowledge and expertise, my background on Wall Street in institutional finance to understand and explain to the world how finance has gone woke. By the way, as a side note, if you haven't already done so, watch the episode. We finally have some numbers to post on the Private Membership Association. Yes, I believe still we are the first out of the gate, I think the only financial private membership association. And that is actually our website. It's spun off of UnWoke.Academy. No obligation. Go and check it out. If you like what you see there and don't want to work with us, great. Take it, copy it, take it wherever to other people that you know in finance. Tell them to duplicate that because we need a lot of people out there fighting the same way that we are against the wokeadoodle far left. That's financialpma.com. As an offshoot, a few days ago, I started releasing information on the first performance reports. So from October 7th, 2024 through May 27th, it's a little under 8 months. The return on that is an average 42.79%. Actually, I've got some notes here next to my monitor. The average was 42.79% return. The weighted average was 33.03. That just means that the woman that we helped build those portfolios for, her actual realized return, because of slight differences in the numbers of shares and how much money got invested, her weighted average, that's a term, if you're not familiar with it, you can look it up, weighted average 33.03%. Go back and watch that episode. I'd love for everybody who's, if you've got MAGA in your profile or talk about America First or say that you support Doge and that you like what's happening to try and clean up and revitalize our economy, etc., you're going to want to watch that episode and pay attention to the things that we're doing at UnWoke.Academy. and at the Financial PMA. It's all open, free to the public. We want everybody to take advantage. My view on that, again, I'm just sort of paraphrasing what we get into in the episode a few days ago, but on February 21st of this year, Donald Trump issued the America First policy statement. That's the America First investment policy. You can find it on the website for the White House, released it February 21st. And what that does is throws down the gauntlet. It says no more, financial world, that you and finance, the globalist banks, investment managers, Wall Street, cut it out. Stop being globalist and stop putting all the money, or virtually all of it, into a small basket of companies, and let's spread the wealth. Let's get it back out there, invested in capital markets, so we can revitalize our economy. I think it's spectacular. In my book, it stands out as, personally, I think it's the most important thing that Trump has done in his political career. That's just me. But what I wanted to talk about today is a guy I was friends with years ago when I first started in finance. I think I'd been in, I actually left the third party administrator. Pardon me, I got a frog in my throat. I'm so excited about this Friday live stream. I've got a frog in my throat. So I had left the third party administrator where I was doing exclusively retirement plan administration and got my break into the world of working in finance. So this was a long time ago. And I got to be friends with this young man, about my age, maybe a little bit younger, who was like the ultimate. He was like the ladies' man, always had like the perfect form-fitting, very high-end suit. And I remember he had this watch that was like one of those giant watches. It was kind of diamond crusted and gold. And I think he pulls that off better than I do because he's black and I'm white. But we got into those conversations about, you know, I normally wear silver. I think that whatever. That's a side note. So this young man had very polished everything, like the immaculate, like super white teeth and the big, like disarming smile and everything. And the women swooned over this guy. So we hung out a bunch of times, and we would go out to the local pub or whatever and just catch up. And at the time, I was starting to make a little bit of a break for myself in the world of finance. And I had some clients and was working through some things, and it's just the usual professional grind. And he worked as a pharmaceutical rep. I'll call him Barry. It's not his real name, but Barry and I would meet up, and it was kind of fun. He? It seemed like everywhere he went, he was like this magnanimous character. He was always like, just everyone loved this guy. The bartender, whoever it was, he would get in conversations with everybody. And I remember thinking at the time he would make it big in finance because he was just a very likable character. I guess I'll put it that way. you know, I don't always go for the flash, but I think that he did flashy well, including even that diamond crusted gold watch that he wore. I don't know why that stands out in my memory, but that to me was indicative. And he drove a very high end, fancy, exotic sports car and everything. Seemed to have the life going on. And we would talk about successes and failures and what we were doing and just everything. And at the time, I would meet up with Barry and he would talk about how easy life was because his role is he would have these wheel carts they would take into pharmaceutical or into physicians' offices, and he would kind of wheel them in with all kinds of samples of pharmaceutical samples for them to hand out to their patients and try these different pills and nasal sprays and eye drops and all that stuff. And so he was a rep for the pharmaceutical firm. And I mean, we never actually did talk numbers, but I knew I was doing pretty well. And this guy was doing really well, like big, big money. And he's been on my mind a lot recently because once I started years ago, when I launched UnWoke.Academy in an effort to fight back against sort of the top-down, really tyrannical approach that's invaded Wall Street and finance, I immediately saw parallels between pharma pharma's influence on hospital systems, and then hospital systems having these protocols that they issue that really effectively mandate what physicians, doctors, and medical staff can and cannot do. I see the parallel is crystal clear and immediately apparent to me. And I've been referencing, if you haven't heard me say it, one of the early kind of models in my mind for Unwoke investing, now Unwoke.Academy, was America's Frontline Doctors, because I saw doctors like Dr. Simone Gold within the world of healthcare and medicine fighting back against that. Their position was, I went through all those schools and years of training to become a doctor so that I can look at the individual facts and circumstances of my patient, and I don't buy into the hospital system that I work for dictating what I can and cannot do for my patient. And then eventually, I think we all came around to understanding that the hospital systems are highly subsidized by big pharma. So indirectly, or actually almost kind of directly, what you have is pharma controlling the behaviors of the doctor, which is wildly inappropriate. I mean, it goes completely against just common sense. Some doctors balked. Many doctors, and I think COVID brought it all to light, but many doctors are like, okay, sure, you want me to do 5, 6, 7, 8 shots into babies and children? Okay, sure, I get a financial incentive for doing that. That's all over the internet now. It's disastrous and horrifying. There's a parallel. And I think, having been friends with Barry, again, not his real name, and having had a couple of years of friendship where I would hear these stories about what pharmaceuticals, big pharma sales looked like and how easy it was, I again am struck with that parallel. In my world, there are big globalist banks flush with money who have basically bought up control of what used to be Wall Street. I have to air quote it now, Wall Street. I don't even really consider most of what used to be Wall Street actually Wall Street, because the ideas, the concept behind Wall Street is they would serve the public. I don't believe they do. And that, go back to the episode that I just released on yesterday's episode on control over Wall Street and things like it. The sorry, couple of trains of thought all at once, but that degree of influence is inappropriate, and it exists all across the financial spectrum. You have the very people, the very companies that issue things like mutual funds and investments, who have taken over huge chunks of the financial world. And if they own and control a financial services company, and the financial services companies has financial advisors, again, I'm air quoting that, then the parallel is identical. It's not similar, it's identical. You have people who presumably have gone through their studies and coursework and become appropriately, dutifully licensed, and engage in financial advice to individuals and families and corporations. If they are subject to a protocol which says you can only do these certain things, and that's based on profit, and behind the scenes you have the very issuers of those investment vehicles, it's broken. That's the same thing in my world, in the financial world, as big pharma controlling mega hospital, which then dictates what doctors can and cannot do. So as we work our way through Make America Healthy Again, and I don't know about you, but I'm been watching with interest the statements made and the the back and forth between politicians in DC and RFK Jr. His stance on most of the things I've heard, I agree with. We vastly outspend. I almost said over. It is overspending. We vastly outspend anywhere else on Earth for healthcare and our health services, but we are arguably the least healthy. And if I'm going to roll that over and apply it to finance, and I think I can, I think I did in the most recent release yesterday, where I showed, actually, here, give me a second, I'll switch. I'm going to switch my background. Here's a little teaser. I have to take away the logo. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get this logo to disappear. There we go. Now you can see the corner up here. This is an indication. This is what I'm referencing. Go back and watch that episode. If I'm right, and you have if you have politicians in bed with the big financial wealth managers, the big globalist bank types, the big deep pockets, and I suspect that there are easy arguments to be made that that's true, and there's a revolving door between Wall Street and DC. And if you have those same people making the legislation and controlling the regulators and controlling the marketplace that own the financial institutions and control them through the purse strings, and those financial institutions have armies of advisors out there who are meeting with one-on-one with individuals and then putting them into effectively virtually the same thing over and over again with different wrapper around it. I've made that argument as well. Watch the Parade of Woke Sameness. That's an episode that I did where I showed that there's just overwhelming amount of similarity and virtual identical nature in many of these mutual funds that you buy. So when you sign up for your 401k or you get your IRA statement or whatever, I mean, you have the reasonable expectation if you see a bunch of different names on there of different mutual funds that you've been put into, and by the way, you're paying an advisory fee, I assume, and you're paying a management fee, and effectively, if those just go into the same small pool of investments and they're the same 40-ish globalist companies, what are you paying for? That's a fair question, and I think everybody should be asking it. And if all of that is true, and we have artificial manipulation of the markets, S&P 500, Dow Jones Industrial Average, et cetera, and then if you have somebody like us at UnWoke.Academy who are simply able to come along and go back to common sense, and then this happens, that's a pretty clear indication that I'm right, that the S&P 500 is artificially propped up. It is drastically overvalued many of these globalist companies. And if you go back and watch that episode, you'll hear the analogy that I use with Apple stock. It actually comes directly from an economist that I listened to recently. So ultimately, my hope in doing these podcasts and doing these live streams and getting this information out and having the website financialpma.com and maintaining UnWoke.Academy is, I know together we can defund the woke. Together we can protect whatever it is that you've been able to amass in your account, wherever they're invested, and get them out of this. Because I continue to make the argument that these are fiction. These are propped up fiction. The politicians have, I don't know how to put it in clearer terms, but when you have around 40 companies that have completely upended all traditional standards and metrics for fiduciary due diligence and investment standards, the selection of good investment versus bad investment, if it's completely upended and replaced with something that nobody really clearly understands or can articulate, you have a broken marketplace. Well, if this is broken, this is what's not broken. This relates to the America First investment policy issued by Trump on February 21st. It actually predates it, clearly. Actually, you can't see the dates on there, but that again is October 7th, 2024 through May 27th, 2025. So we have a little under 8 months, and we have, I think I said at the beginning, but a part of this was cut off at the beginning, an average return of 42.79% and a weighted average for these three accounts in question of 33.03%. So that's an indication that getting back to fundamentals, getting back to actual solid verifiable metrics works. And it's been sorely lacking. And from that standpoint, I really do believe that right now represents a wonderful and significant opportunity for people in the marketplace. I wish I could say that there's some issuer of mutual funds out there or some family of investments that didn't go woke and they've got great investments. I continue to look. There are some that are on radar. I am, by the way, this is not investment advice. This can't be specific to you because we've not met or spoken. But these are areas that we're looking at. So I'm giving you glimpses into the research that we're doing at UnWoke.Academy. There are some out there, like Timothy Plan, which has been put on my radar a number of times. I continue to look into it. I'm not quite comfortable with them yet. We've got Strive Financial, which is connected to Vivek Ramaswamy, who's now running for governor in my state of Ohio. We've got a bunch of those. We've actually had Matt Tuttle from Tuttle Capital on as a guest. We've had Justin Bernier on as a guest also from National Security Index. Those represent opportunities to get your money, or some of your money, out of the woke stuff. But those are specific and those are good pieces of the puzzle. But ultimately, for now, until we have a good picture and a good, well-rounded a slate of different investments that we're going to recommend that we know that the managers didn't go woke. What I'm suggesting, you can see, which side am I on here? Over here, what we've done is built an array of different stocks. So this is a stock portfolio that is easier and much less expensive than you probably think. What it does is doing this gets rid of your investment management fees because you're no longer paying a manager fee to the mutual fund or whatever it is. And it also stands the very likely prospect of eliminating or significantly reducing your advisory fees. So instead of paying, like the example that I gave, instead of paying an advisor to put you into mutual funds and then paying them both, a stock portfolio, especially in this day and age of discount trading platforms, and there are lots of them out there. And just so you know, UnWoke.Academy and the financial PMA are agnostic. It doesn't matter where you do your trading, where the money is held. That's a very different approach than Wall Street, which tends to try to capture and move everybody and all your money into one company or something. We don't work that way. I don't work that way. I've really never liked that concept of acting as an asset gatherer. That's a term that's prevalent in my marketplace, and I balk at it. But the objective is, and by the way, you can actually do this inside of 401ks. IRA accounts allow you to do stock trading. You could build this virtually anywhere in almost any type of account. There are some limitations to things like 403b. If you work for a nonprofit or a college or university, or if you're a school teacher, You'll have a 403b. Those are limited. The only things you can buy inside of those are insurance products and mutual funds. That's it for now. You're limited to those. But outside of that, just about any other type of account, you could take this advice and run with it. Put it into your account. And it doesn't have to be all or none. If you've got some mutual funds that you like, and for whatever reason, you keep them in there and put some allocation toward this. But for now, my strong suggestion is that hugging indexes, S&P 500 and Dow Jones Industrial Average and things like it are not a good place to be for the foreseeable future. I'm thinking at least 5 years. That's going to take them a long time to recoup from the mass consolidation that's taking place. One last thing on that, and then I'm going to sign off. I don't believe we've ever seen the level of consolidation in investment markets that we have today. Or actually, it's unwinding. So I should say, as of late 2024, during the final days of the Biden administration, we had such massive consolidation that there were a small number of companies, big, huge, overstuffed globalist companies that have that they'd captured the lion's share. I don't know that I'm going to find it easily, but on my phone I actually have an article that I found and texted to myself. I've referenced it a few times. I'm going to try to put it in the show notes. Add it to the goodies after the released recording of this. But I'm going to paraphrase an element of the article. I think what they said was that around the CEOs of those Fortune 500 companies, the big globalist megas that got so funded through sort of this consolidation of investment capital markets, they ended up paying, and I think it was 2024, I'm going to ballpark the figure, it was over $16 million in annual bonus to the chairman and CEO of those companies. I'll see if I can find the article, but that's just egregious. I mean, it's just, there was so much money, they didn't know what to do with it, in the billions and billions of dollars. And meanwhile, what that did is it starved capital markets, it starved small business. And that's where this comes in. That's what we're doing here. We're looking for those realistic opportunities for free market economy. Put another way, what this is doing, it's not only benefiting the investor, because this woman is very happy. She's a very, very happy woman right now. But it's also funding the next new thing. It's funding free markets and the America first, make America great again. That's where the money comes from. It's true, some banks will probably do some lending, but let's look at what happened to small community regional banks over the last 20 years. They've all but evaporated. Over 800, I'm told, closed just during the Obama administration, and it accelerated after that. The Biden administration oversaw the closure of many, many regional banks. So if there aren't banks to lend, that's where capital markets and private investment come in. That's a topic for another conversation. That's what I wanted to cover today. Just reminiscing about my friend Barry. He is a really nice guy, and I assume we lost touch. He moved to some other marketplace years ago, and I haven't talked to him in, I don't know, 15 or more years. I assume he's probably still doing the same thing, and I don't even know, probably has a private jet by now or something. But to me, in my world, I saw that path, I saw that avenue, and it just wasn't for me. I didn't turn out to be that relationship manager, just taking orders and selling as much high profit product for some megacorp in finance as possible. I balked. I wrote a big scathing letter in 2007 that ended up getting me in trouble and getting me some legal threats and everything. And then we parted ways, and I left Wall Street because I didn't want to be part of that. I saw bad actors doing bad stuff, called them out and got in trouble for it. That was enough for me. Anyway, thanks for tuning in and thanks for listening. This is Jonathan Broadbent. I am the creator and founder of UnWoke.Academy. One last reminder, don't forget to mark your calendar for this Thursday, June 12th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time for Laura Shar from Gold Standard Elections. In the meantime, have a great weekend.